Hey everybody, and welcome back to Save Station. So today we got the last domination round that I recorded. I spiced it up a little bit with some more units. I get some tank units and stuff here. So again, the other team, not too good. They probably just don't know what they're doing, which is totally, expected if they haven't played a game like this before. But yeah, we get in there and get it done. So getting the power extractors and some supply pads. I just call them supply pads. I think they're called harvesters, but that's just from the old game. It just kind of sticks with me, so I'm probably just going to keep saying supplies pads. Let's see. Okay. So I also try and get my Brute Chieftain out there this time around. And in the old game, he was super key. I think I said that before. He had a Vortex ability, which was taken away in this game, but he still has his hammer pull, and he's super effective against ground units. He can pull them in, stun them, do a lot of damage with the hammer. So it's usually good to have him out if you're playing a Covenant. You want to get your leader out there. And I'm not positive, but their other leaders should probably be the Arbiter and a Prophet, probably. I personally would love to see some Forerunner like tech in this game. It's all over the Halo universe and lore, so it kind of just like makes sense for them to add that. I don't know how they would play though. I'm gonna leave that up to the game designers. I also think the Flood could be something. And in the first game, they were in the campaign for Halo Wars, and you had to fight them. They could convert your units, like your infantry, if you weren't too careful. But they were never something you could use in multiplayer. So that might be a cool faction to have in multiplayer this time around. Taking the points again. That's how you win this. And in the old games, I believe if you had more units on like a point for capturing, you could capture it faster. And I'm unsure if that's the way in this game. Because it seems like just one unit is kind of like taking care of it. And if you want to be super proactive and efficient, you start splitting up your guys and sending them towards different supplies like I'm doing right now, and then towards like another point. Because like I said, the other team not super good at all, so they're not really doing a whole lot. And I can definitely say it's not going to be like this for all my Halo Wars matches. I will be doing deathmatch play sessions coming up next. This is the last domination video that I did. So deathmatch is next, and that gets a lot more intense. It's a lot more straightforward. Kill the other person. Gotta get those supplies. Kill the Sentinels. Kill them dead. Kill all the Sentinels. There's that hammer pull. Can drag any unit towards him, except for flying units. He cannot affect flying units. Something interesting about this game, you sometimes can affect flying units if they get low enough to the ground. And that happens very rarely. But sometimes they kind of dip close to the ground depending where you are. Like if they're going over like a point or something, like terrain, and the other person's like right on top of that, they sometimes are targeted, but that happens very rarely. And yeah, you're not going to see that a whole lot. So I have my foundry up, which is for vehicles, and I love the locusts. Like I said in my previous video, they are very risky to use because they're so fragile. So they're very good against buildings, but if they get into any sort of combat with another unit, they will be wrecked.
Local units.
You can see the arrow up. That means veterancy has been gained.
Local units.
As I said before, the unit becomes more durable, but I don't think they get a damage increase. They might, though. Not 100% sure. Stamina by itself is good.
The enemy has captured domination.
And what was really cool about the old game is there were enemy like neutral bases around, and you had to destroy them before you could start making bases. In this game, it doesn't seem like it's like that. There's just open bases everywhere. You could get early veterancy for some of your early units on those neutral bases, which was really cool. So you could get like some Spartans out if you're playing UNSC, get some stars on them. Really hard to kill, especially when they can board another vehicle, which is one of their abilities. So Spartans are pretty key. They're almost like the equivalent to a leader, and you get like I think 3 of them out. So they're 3 Spartans is basically equivalent to a Covenant leader. Banshees, very interesting unit in this game. They are super effective against air units, which I thought was a little interesting. In the old game, you had vampire class ships, which would literally suck the life out of air units and put them in stasis, kind of like they would just be frozen. It would disable them. And then they could do a little bit of like damage with their little lasers against buildings and stuff. Not powerful at all, but they're very effective against air units. Seems like they kind of just made Banshees super effective against air units, which is, I guess, fine. Doesn't bother me a whole lot. It does kind of suck that it seems like the Covenant doesn't have a whole lot of air options this time around. They do have that one tanky air, but that can also become a ground unit. Which is good. It's good to have like a unit that's has a variety of ways to attack. And the triangle is always good to keep in mind because it goes vehicles good against infantry, infantry is good against air, air is good against vehicle. But there are hard counters to other units. So I'm trying to decide what to do next here. For some reason, it's not letting me put my Warlord out there, which I'm not quite sure why. I think it might be my tech level, maybe? But I'm at tech level 2. That should be high enough. It's very strange. Oh, he's already out. That's why. Okay. I got a little confused, I guess. So what I should be doing is upgrading my leader and my main base. I can do that right now, but looks like my units came across some enemies, so I'm kind of preoccupied. There's not a lot of them, so I should really be going back to my base and upgrading stuff as we speak. Gotta be efficient, for sure. So the Marauder is a new unit. It slows down enemies, which is really cool. So that's great to have on the front lines. If it's slowing down enemies, they're not going to be doing as much damage, which is pretty great. So I am getting a little scared for my base down there. So I'm sending in some Banshees. I kind of was hoping I didn't have to do that because now they know I have air units. But I want to just take those guys out down there. I don't want my base to be taken. It's kind of good to have a base down there. I can control those points. So my Banshees are just wrecking right now. Even though the triangle says infantry is good against Banshees, those infantry aren't very high level at all. And in this game, I still haven't really used my leader power, which is accessing the tree. I was still kind of unfamiliar with that. But I should have been researching like health regeneration, which could definitely help out my units that just fought. They could use a little bit of healing. Then that would obviously have to recharge, which takes a little while too. You can't just spam that if you have enough resources. That would be definitely overpowered. Units also have different speeds too, so when you're controlling all your units, your Banshees are going to fly way ahead of your other units, which can be a bad thing a lot of times. Because it lets the enemy know your whole army's coming, basically. At the same time, you could try and lure the enemy and think that you're coming from one way with your Banshees, then hit them hard with the other units from the other side of the base, and then just have your Banshees kind of like disengage, and because they're really quick, and then come back around and help your other units. That's sometimes a good way to do things. You gotta be tricky. Do the unexpected. That's all I'm about. That's what's kind of fun about doing a rush. Pick one unit and just rush with that unit. And maybe it'll work, maybe it won't, but it's kind of fun just to see it. As I said before, you can sometimes make more educated decisions on what to rush with if you're scouting. And I'm doing 0 scouting, which is a very bad thing. I could increase my population right now if I wanted to, but I'm really going after my leader upgrades. And I'm also pretty confident that we're going to win, so this match isn't going to be very long, so increasing my population probably wouldn't be a good use of my resources. The other teams, I think, they have one point. And that's bringing our score down slowly. I think they literally have half the score as us right now, so their defeat is pretty imminent. I'm pretty much ready to go here. First engagement, big engagement, I should say. So a lot of infantry, and they've got some little vehicles that are pretty quick. Now my Locusts, this is big trouble for them because they're so fragile. So I'm starting to move my units away because it looks like the enemy is kind of moving in a direction. So I'm kind of going to move away from that direction with my Locusts. I probably could have won that fight, but it would have damaged a lot of my units pretty good, and then I would have had to wait longer to attack them. So I disengaged and went towards this reactor. And here it gets a little wonky. I'm like, oh, I don't really care about these guys. But then I'm like, oh, wait, I care now. And I'm going to go after them. And you can see those beams are barely doing anything to infantry. Those Locusts are specifically good against buildings, which sucks. And that's why they're risky to use. And you're going to see this pretty soon, but I think the flamethrower units got a little better in this game. They seem to do a decent amount of damage. They can't attack air units, but I think they definitely upgraded their damage output. Because before, they really didn't do much to buildings or vehicles. But it really seems like they do a decent amount of damage. Now, it could be skewed because they're attacking Locusts and they're fragile, but it's hard to say. Here, this is kind of wonky. I'm trying to get my Chieftain to get this point, and he's kind of walking around it for some reason. I guess there's a sweet spot the game's trying to find for him. But, I probably shouldn't really care about this too much. It's giving them power, yeah, but at this point, they don't really have much of an army, so I can just move in on them, and I don't really have to care about that reactor point. And I'm saying reactor, that's an old term from the first game, but I guess I should be saying, like, PowerPoint. That'd be better. And I think I just leave my Brute Chieftain down there, which is super stupid. Definitely dumb.
Is there attack at the enemy base?
Should have him up against the base. He'd be doing some work with that AoE area effect.
Fresh sport.
And he's actually coming, but there are units that I'm dealing with here. And I'm doing some work on him, for sure. Just wrecked some of those guys. And we're going in on the base. And the building's dying pretty quick. Now, what's interesting is it seems like the turrets aren't taking bonus damage. And I think in the first game they're considered kind of buildings since they're part of the base. But here it takes a little while to actually kill them.
Local units.
And it looks like I just lost line of sight. So my locusts are like, oh, I don't know what to do.
Local units.
Which I'm kind of confused about. So I'm moving them in a little closer. And the turrets have some crazy range. Just gonna take out that one turret. Boom. My Mauler really wrecked that turret. But the locusts aren't doing a whole lot of damage to those turrets. So I just kind of focus them towards the building. Now, I just used a leader ability. I didn't really know what I was doing with it. What Last Stand does is if a unit's about to die, they'll actually hang on for a little bit longer. And those flamethrowers just wrecked my Mauler. It was low health, but they like whittled it down real quick. So they are taking out these locusts. They're trying to, at least. But that is it. They could not withstand my might. So that's definitely a victory right there. I did pretty good. The other team didn't know what they were doing, but hey, it just worked out that way. So thanks for watching. We're going to get to deathmatch next, and I'll see you guys next time. All right, see ya.